do we reach out to internet users is the fact that India has over 700 active internet users, and they are from age 2 onwards. And this is data from December 2022. A recent study by the McAfee Corp found that Indian children are among the youngest to reach digital or mobile maturity. That is the age when kids begin their digital existence to start accessing digital information online. Added to this data is also the fact that they have the highest risk of online exposure, even at a very, very young age. But today we are here to talk about, how social and patriarchal norms keep young girls, adolescent girls, from accessing digital devices. They do not have digital literacy at par with their male counterparts, and this inhibits their access to opportunities that the digital space offers in terms of life skills, livelihood skills, accessing entitlements, critical thinking skills, etc. And we know that young people are increasingly using digital tools for communication, for information access, and digital platforms, social media platforms, online interactive games, etc., do provide us for an opportunity to try, test, implement social and behavior change campaigns, and also to understand how can we address social norms among very young adolescent and young adults. And therefore, we are here today to understand the norms that impact young people's use of digital tools, but also how we can reach out through digital means to impact cultural norms and gender norms and societal norms, and how digital tools can be harnessed to build awareness, change behavior, and also encourage critical thinking around these norms. So today we are here to talk about how digital spaces can be leveraged for shifting among young people. We have three speakers. I'm going to request the speakers to maybe speak for about 10 to 12 minutes. We will ask you to stop when you reach about 14 to 15 minutes. We will take questions at the end of three presentations, but we would like to encourage you to keep posting your questions on the chat box so that we come to your questions moment the third presenter finishes. So with this opening words, I'm going to invite Vandana. Vandana Nair is the lead for the program on adolescent and young people at C3. She's been working in the sphere of adolescent issues for nearly 2 decades and has been part of many large-scale adolescent health programs across the country. And Vandana today is going to talk about a couple of projects about how digital intervention can help adolescent girls. So over to you, Vandana.
Thanks so much, Prajita, and thanks to the Social Norms Learning Collaborative for this opportunity. And I think you having set the context about how where India has reached in terms of mobile and internet connectivity. I think uh, through the work that we have done in our in the states that we work in, I would like to share some of our some very primary research that we have done in terms of digital access, and secondly, some of the projects that we have undertaken and seen the results in terms of how social norms and gender norm shift that we have seen in the girls and the communities that we have worked with. So I would like to begin with sharing the findings of a study that we did collaboratively with Digital Empowerment Foundation. We have Osama who will be speaking after me, and he and his team. We worked on this during COVID. In 2020. So it was a telesampling that we had done, and we spoke to over 2,200 adolescent girls. We spoke to their parents, we spoke to their teachers, and we spoke to government employees and NGOs. And we went across to 10 states and 29 districts to collect data about how girls are being able to access what does the gender divide look like, especially in a time frame that where everything had gone digital. So from buying groceries to having meetings with your colleagues to education, everything, then how did it impact them, and what did access look like to them, and what were some of the how did the families and communities view it, especially girls accessing internet or having mobile phones. So when we did this, and we found that, across the 10 states that we did, we reached out to, it was only in Haryana, especially, there was a very, very stark gender divide that we saw, where, literally girls reported having no digital access, and the least gender divide that we saw was in the southern states, especially in Telangana and Tamil Nadu, and where the rest of the states, as you can see, Maharashtra, Assam, everywhere, the access was always in favor of the boys. And one of the factors that affects access is also affordability. While all the girls who said that it was very, very, can we mute other people? I just hear some voices. I'm very sorry. It's slightly disturbing. So, so while most of the girls kind of accepted that it is very important to have a mobile to access information, but 70% of these girls really did not own a phone. And one of the major reasons being, financial constraints, which their parents told us that it was that impacted their access. And a majority of about 79% of the families did not have access to a computer at home. And the poor financial status was the reason for, one of the impediments in accessing internet or owning a mobile. So this obviously, what we said was, affordability. The next thing was also like, in terms of access, who had the phone in the family, and we found that it was usually the father, and who was not necessarily digitally literate, but 87% of the families at least had one phone at home. So which is one step, in the positive directions. And girls, 86% of the girls, they said that they did have access to it, but it's also very, very limited time, like less than 1 hour a day. And some said that they only get access only for the online classes, but otherwise it's with the father. So, and if whether they had access to community labs or community centers where they could use, they said that it was less than an hour in a week. And 62% of our girls who we spoke to told us that, the male members do have better access to mobiles and internets in their families and communities. So the next thing that we asked them about, we kind of explored in depth, was the attitude towards use of mobiles and internet, and especially by girls, that we found that while teachers and community members said that it is very critical for girls to kind of access digital technology. We found that parents have a very, very negative perception towards, use of mobiles, and said that it could be an unhealthy distraction for the adolescent girls. The parents were most comfortable with girls, either studying or, browsing news and looking at it for, social entitlements or opportunities. But, sorry. Sorry, I am having some. Give me a moment. Sorry. But when we explored at length as to what the parents really, what is their attitude towards mobiles and internet. They had reasons like, phones are not safe for girls, it's a waste of time, she may misuse it. And in our larger context of our work, where we work on child marriage, we work on other issues with the girls, there's a very popular conception that if you give a phone to a girl, wo ghar se bhag jayegi, so that is one of the other things that also keeps her away from, where uh, how the social norms kind of decide whether uh, girl, because a girl does not go alone. So there's also a boy involved, but the entire blame or the burden of, access of the phone goes on the girl. And of course, lack of affordability, I've already mentioned, was one of the key things that was preventing girls from having an access. So this was one of the models that we did with our philanthropic support that we had got, where we our intervention that we do with adolescents at the community level using the Rashtriya Kishore Swasthya Seva uh, uh, as the platform. So at the community level where we work through peer educators with the adolescents. So we layered our digital skills program on that. So it was a life skills program which we layered with a digital skills and a livelihood training component on that, and which we took them through usual life skill sessions of reproductive health, nutrition, mental health, gender-based violence, and all that. And when we took to digital skills, it was basically kind of also preparing them for a future world of work, where more more than 70 to 80% is going to be, digital. You need digital technology to be able to be working in the 21st century world of work. So, teaching them how very basic skills of MS Office, social media, then also how to stay safe online, and what kind of social media behavior is appropriate and inappropriate. We spoke to them, and we also uh, told them how to, very practical skills of how to access social entitlements, or to kind of do net banking. So we did take them through those things which would also prepare them for a future world of work. And also we connected these girls with the livelihood skills and job placements. So this was about a 1.5 year, 2 year intervention that we had done in Jharkhand, and the results that we got from this were very encouraging. One is something that reinforces our the thought behind our strategy is that if you have a strong peer network and a peer influence, and so that kind of prevents school dropout. So we saw that there was a rise in school attendance from which was already high at about an 82%. It moved to 95%. Aspirational levels, where girls would earlier speak to us and say कि school complete kar lenge. We found that they now aim to study up to graduation and beyond. And especially when we talk to them in context of child marriage, they say if we don't get married, at least I'll be able to uh, finish my graduation and be able to work and earn for my family, is something that many girls aspire to do. So that shift we have seen. And very interestingly, the work that we did in terms of life skills with the girls, and the digital literacy component that we added on also contributed to kind of now the girls said that they should be able to decide when they want to marry. And from the baseline to the end line, we saw a shift from 62% to 97%. And girls thinking that that she should be able to work even if her spouse is earning well. We saw a shift from 46% to 66% there. And boys sharing the load of domestic work, we saw a shift of 46% to 66% from the baseline to the end line. And right now also we are doing an intervention which we don't have the evidence, but given the fact that in COVID the girls were denied access to digital technology. So we decided to kind of digitize this curriculum of life skills and reach out to them using technology and making them digitally literate. So we are still in the process of implementing that project, and the evidence is still awaited. But I think there is a definite interest in the girls, and the kind of they realize that it is the norms are biased towards the boys. And so we also work with boys, so in terms of making this, shifting the needle of gender norms. So if what I mean, one of the things that the study that we did, now I'm coming back to the study that we did, was how can this gender gap be addressed, how do we bridge the divide, and especially if we have to see that the girls are not left behind in this digital access, which is almost like a very basic survival skill that you need to have It is not just being able to take a call or answer or send a WhatsApp, but it's also being able to process the information that you find online and make, you know, be able to kind of make a coherent presentation out of it, or, filter out information that is necessary for your college assignment or your work. So, so how is that possible? So one is, of course, that we need to focus on girls, very targeted approach in schools and in institutional settings, and especially in, I'm sure Osama will speak about it, at the very grassroots level and in marginalized communities. How can we provide this access is something that we have done in Jharkhand, also Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Bihar, where we work with, marginalized populations and building a and once we know that if we work with girls and women, it has a multiplier effect on families, communities, and the national development. So, and another thing that when we were doing the study, we also uh, found that there is not enough data around the gender disaggregated information. We don't really have a toolkit for measuring the gender divide, how much of it is there, how is it impacting various things. So that kind of very nuanced data we have, basic, how many have accessed, ever used, that kind of data. But if you want to go unpack it further in terms of if they are using, how much, how are they using it, how many are using it, that kind of data needs to be collected if you want to have a coherent kind of a response to get bridging this digital divide. And as I had already shared, that the parents and families still have a very, very negative attitude towards girls accessing the internet or having mobiles. So they need to, kind of be brought into this ambit on, we need to have sessions with parents, families, community sessions, online or offline, and meet them and, kind of talk to them about how beneficial it can be. And so that needs to happen. And of course, working with families, we are doing, as you all know, that girls share the burden of domestic work much more than the boys do. So we also need to kind of work with the male members of the family and the parents and other members, so that to give free time to the girls so that they can access digital devices and use them for their education. So, sustainable digital safety nets in terms of you know making affordable last mile connectivity for the girls, cheap options in terms of mobiles, in terms of internet cost, the amount of the cost that families spend on internet. For a low income family or a marginalized tribal family, it's extremely difficult to make that kind of money to spend on internet. So so a cheap last mile internet infrastructure and connectivity is very, very essential. And digital curriculum, where I think there's also a very big need of upskilling, teachers themselves, their skills, and having digital based curriculums, digital libraries. So all those are kind of digital safety nets, which can, if made available to girls, can make a difference and bridge the digital divide. So I'll just sum up in 4 points. Like, in order to normalize digital access, it is critical that digital literacy is made a compulsory part of the school system. In most of the schools where we work in Jharkhand and all, we have seen that even if there is a computer or a smart board or internet connectivity in the school, it is not being really used, or it has gone into disrepair after it kind of breaks down. So, if it becomes an essential part that it has to happen, and bringing technology equity into schools, I think then that would normalize girls and boys accessing internet, and would remove the kind of shifting needle in favor of the girls. And I've already mentioned families and communities being involved in digital literacy campaigns, and I think making content available in local languages for greater adaptability and comprehension. This is something again we are doing in Jharkhand, where we are converting the our school health and wellness program curriculum into tribal languages, the videos and all, making, in either Mundari or Santhali, so that, the tribal population can also understand and, use that information in a language that is comprehensible to them. And of course, making digital access affordable and accessible till the last mile. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Over to
Vandana.
you.
Um, I think what one point I take away from your intervention is also the fact that when you are working with especially adolescent girls who are from the most marginalized age geographies, who could be out of school, digital interventions may be more effective, and it is not a standalone vertical intervention. But for example, this particular program was layered onto an agency, girls' agency building program. So thank you for sharing the survey results. Thank you for sharing some data about the program results. Vandana, there are some questions on the chat box. If you can pick a couple and start thinking about your responses. But now I'm going to move to our next speaker, Osama. Osama Manzar, let me do a bit of a sharing of his bio before I call on him. Osama is a senior Ashoka Fellow, a social impact fellow, and founder of the Digital Empowerment Foundation. And DEF has digitally empowered more than 30 million people in the country in the last 2 decades. Osama is an author. He has authored and edited scores of research and books on digital developments, including access, around misinformation, and data justice. He has traveled to more than 10,000 villages in the country and is known for designing digital models for socioeconomic development. He is a columnist too, and his columns can be read at lifemin.com. Welcome, Osama, and please tell us a bit about how digital use and social norms play out in the grassroots context. Over to you, Osama.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm really sorry to, sitting in a car going to airport and talking to all of you. It was not planned, but I have only one flight to go to Guwahati from Chennai. So sorry for that. Bear with me some noises. Uh, this topic interests me a lot, and I really enjoy talking on this topic of normal what are the behavioral social behaviors going on because of the digital or the lack of it, and so on and so forth. uh, 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 when I got invited to speak today, I did another session with about 100 of our people in the villages yesterday. That what is happening at a grassroots level, how digital is affecting, just to get an idea, because we have about 2,000 centers all over the country, most of them run by women, and it's and also the digital inclusion or digital narrative is changing day by day. Like Vandana was talking about the statistics which we did together about gender digital divide and so on and so forth. It is still about, in last couple of years, it has impacted heavily. And I want to share some of the things that, can I share my screen?
Yes, go ahead, Osama, please.
Is it visible?
Yes, we can see your work of art,
Okay.
Osama, if that is what.
Okay, so this is what I made since yesterday. How it is affecting, and people can read it and all that. And so, what actually happened is that, and without denying any of the numbers that Vandana shared, because we were part of it, but what is changing? So when you go to the masses, what is started happening is that girls are complaining that my brother has the mobile, but I don't have as much as. Um, uh, Girls are also saying that now there is no fight that I don't need. I would not be given a mobile. They are given mobile, and safety and security is becoming one of the reasons why they're getting mobile is also कि घर में रहेगी, and you don't have to go out because you are getting the world in your hand. Uh, I don't know whether you have, and this is usually, and then when I was talking to some people in Assam, our people were sharing that it has become a norm to get microfinance loan to buy mobile for anybody and everybody. Education is one of the biggest excuse or reason to get a mobile, especially after COVID impact. And that is the reason children are and adolescents are getting mobile in their hands. And it's a different matter what they are using it for. Uh, 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 Cyber addiction is increasing among boys and adolescents. Everybody is glued on mobile. In fact, one of our district managers said that everybody says that the future is in the hands of the youth, but the youth has got mobile in their hands. And so that's basically trying to say. And then there is one person said that is it scripted that everybody wants us our youth to have mobile in their hands and then start sending all those misinformation, fake news, and untrusted and narrative or material or content which is actually not healthy. Like everybody is bothered. One of the biggest influence on the youth to get a mobile is YouTubing. The successful YouTubers or the reel makers and so on and so forth. All that is written here that I have got it together. Uh, but in most of the public spaces has not got the digital devices given to them. For example, Haryana announced to be given every 9 or 10th or 11th person, a class person tablet, but they have no idea what their tablet is using for. And my language about 5 or 10 years back used to be that पहले उनको दो फिर देखेंगे क्या करते हैं. But the point is now it is becoming almost I mean we don't need to campaign extraordinarily that device is needs to be given or available. I feel that it is almost the data also says, which is 2-year-old data, also says that more than 80% household has got at least one device. So that's not the issue. That is one thing there. But in the last 2-3 years, three things has happened. We have got Jamtara happened from Jharkhand, which is the capital of cybercrime and cyber fraud, followed by Noor and followed by Devghar and so on and so forth. And it's increasing every day. It is becoming influence. I don't know whether you know, in Noor and Haryana, Tatlubazi is one of the most prevalent cultural phrase. Tatlubazi, किसी का टटलू काट दिया. In the sense that I made fool of the person using digital devices or phone, which can be actually categorized as cyber fraud. Uh, so those are the major things that that I got from the field. That access to a smartphone is hardly an issue. Uh, in Kashmir, for example, I got a report that cyber fraud and crime is not too big a issue. but access to rightful content is a big issue. Then most of the places that I have talked, everybody said that while government is giving tablets and devices to the families and adults and adolescent children, school-going children, but there is hardly any effort to create a proper digital lab or a digital access point in schools, in all schools, which can be guided, which can be used in a manner that is better utilized. Hardly any panchayat has got a public access which can be used in the light of the guided access. So those are all missing. And so certainly one of the things that is not happening in this entire digital cultural invasion of our people, our society, our youth, our adolescents, is that how to use it. Media is in the hands of the people, but there is no media literacy. There is no sense of information literacy. There is no sense of digital literacy from the perspective of what it is essential for me. And therefore, I am using it exactly like the way I have learnt driving and I have a scooter or a cycle and I am in the main highway and getting into accidental act. So those are the things that's not happening at a school or and Vandana also said that there is no essentially happening any digital literacy for the people who are getting media in their hands. And that is the reason why one of the things that you must have realized and we have been watching is that one of the biggest hindrance for girls to get online is hate speech, cyberbullying, trolling. Girls do not have a peaceful existence or life on social media. And if the social media is the most attractive things for many, there is no sense of how to be secure on digital if digital is necessary. How to be normal on digital if digital is necessary. Everybody, I mean, if you look at it from three perspectives, uh, I am an adolescent person. I am a user. I don't have uh, citizenship realization when I have a device in my hand, because I'm being treated as consumer by the corporates who have got platforms given in our hand. Uh, Government who is giving me this platform is treating us like a voter, nothing more than that. There is nobody who is actually working at me to be safe and secure while accessing. It's something like going to school and you're insecure. So if mobile is my school, am I secure? Am I safe? If mobile is my marketplace, am I safe and secure? If mobile is my knowledge bank or a library, is it safe and secure? Or am I facing a problem every time I'm hitting a button? Either my money is going from the bank or whatever. The bank is treating us more like a transaction entity. So I am just a data when I'm online, for most of the people. So how do we really do this cyber capacity? And Vandana and anybody, please tell me to shut up when I'm crossing 10 minutes. What is the realization is that how do we do this? And one thing that I realized that how we can have a safer space and how we can make this digital space as a socially acceptable, safe space is by ideating all the capacity building efforts through women. That's what I am realizing that we should do. Then we are actually going to be safe. And from that perspective, I would say we have some examples that I want to share. Is that since we met last, Prajita, when we were doing this research, we have done at least 4 programs totally oriented through women going on the ground. So when we do digital literacy, we are not doing it through boys or men or something. We're doing it through women. If we are doing SHG group training, we are choosing them because it's a woman centric. When we are going to do panchayat we are actually targeting those 1/3 elected panchayat members who are women, to go to, because when you have a woman as a lead to have a digital in the hands, your domestic space is good, your educational space is good, your business space is good, and even if you are earning and doing it for commerce, money is going into the right hands, you know because digital is the no doubt that we want digital for health access, we want digital for educational access, we want mobile or a digital for banking and everything. Then if the woman is leading, it is becoming much more safe space, because if you look at the entire graph of cyber fraudism or cyber crime or cyber bullying or all those things, it's largely men oriented and men centric, in terms of the men who are involved in doing this. It's not women. If the mobile is in the hands of a woman, you will not see that they are indulging in creating content which is actually harming the society or something like that. And that is one leap of faith that I am thinking that we must adopt, is that how do we design all our capacity in digital arena, which is actually making this a space safe, because this is not a, a device is actually more than a Swiss knife. It has got everything. It is my bank, it is my marketplace, it is my education center, it's my library, it's my reference, it's my everything. So if it is everything, it has to be safe, it has to be adaptable, no, and it doesn't have to be risky. And that's where we need to work. And especially because if you are talking about social and behavioral practices, and when the adolescents are the biggest target, because that is where our hopes are, these things like media information literacy must be treated as essential, and it has to be gender driven from the perspective that it should be given in the hands of women. I will stop there, and thank you very much for my time. Yeah.
Thank you, Osama, for those nuggets of really great information. I just want to check with you. Will you be here for about 20 more minutes to take questions at the end?
Yes, I hope so. Yeah.
Okay, I'll come to you first with the questions, but just to kind of thank you for telling us that access is no more the issue, but having access to rightful, correct content safety is the big issue right now. Teaching young people how to leverage what the digital world is offering in a constructive manner is again one of your recommendations. Good to know that young people and women are using digital means to access entitlements, financial inclusion. But again, absolutely agree that mobile addiction, youth being targeted as a consumer with hardly any efforts made on safety and security, being victims of cyber fraud. All of that is really, really important aspects to talk about in India right now, looking at where we are in the growth of our mobile consumers. Cyber fraud, yes, we can have a whole seminar, webinar on this, and there's a couple of questions on cyber fraud, but I really want to kind of, if we come back to you, you talked about guided community access, you talked about making women and girls, helping them make the most of the benefits of digital access. If we have time to come back, I would really want to ask you about how do we do this. So think about that. Thank you for staying connected. But with this, I am going to move to Aarti Shukla. Aarti Shukla is the head of Love Matters. She is a senior professional who has the experience in creating, lead in overseeing offline and online content programs on health and gender and education. Love Matters, I think most of you would know, is India's leading sexual and reproductive health and rights platform. They operate within at the interaction between media and public health, and they are an example of how best to harness the power of technology, the power of popular culture. How do you do design thinking and storytelling to reach young people? And today, Aarti is going to talk to us about how can digital platforms shape norms and influence attitudes. So welcome, and over to you, Aarti.
Thank you very much, Aparajita. I'll share my screen and then I'll get started. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So I'd like to start by thanking Osama and Vanna for their brilliant insights around stark gender divide in gender access and the difference that digital interventions are making from Vandana's PPT. And I really like the term that Osama used around digital invasion without the required capacity building. So thank you very much for that. For my own presentation today, I would like to focus on the use of digital content online to shape norms and strategies that work to engage adolescents and young people online. So it's a little different from what we've been talking about. It's the active and proactive use of digital content to engage young people, to be able to pass on some of the messages that may be difficult otherwise. But I would like to start by briefly touching around the context around adolescents and the impact norms can have on their lives. So as you all know, India is home to over 243 million adolescents, the largest number of young people in any country in the world. And that's brilliant for India's future and opportunities. But we're also well aware that adolescents face huge challenges in realizing this potential. And many of these challenges are actually centered and compounded by existing social norms. So let us sample some of these social norms. Most of these norms are rooted, as you know, in patriarchy. They impact both girls and boys, though the impact is manifold on girls. Some of the common norms that you see on the screen right now are around age of marriage, agency in choice, freedom of movement, equity in health, education, and other opportunities. This video that you see on the screen at the moment, which I'm not going to play for time constraints, some of these norms were captured in our conversation with young people in Bihar and showcase exactly what has come out in the research that Vanna and Osman have presented from their work on the ground. Now, these norms don't just restrict an individual's potential or what happened to their lives, but they also have significant national and regional impact. For example, the indicators we see on the screen here have at least one adverse social norm linked to it, whether it be around that girls need to get married at a certain age, or restriction of freedom of movement, or freedom of expression. So it is beyond doubt that norms impacting adolescents need to be addressed. And the fact that the expansion of digital technology is giving us significant scope to be able to address these norms at a speed that's faster than a churn of generation, which is how traditionally norms were addressed. Now, when it comes to digital interventions, Love Matters India is a front runner and a pioneer in the use of digital technology to reach young people with norm shaping communication. Set up in 2010, when digital was just beginning to capture popular imagination, Love Matters was quick to respond to the opportunity and set up a digital platform to cater to the unmet needs of young people. Starting out in India, Love Matters expanded to Africa, Arab world, China, South America. And we've since then used websites, social media platforms, discussion boards, campaigns, podcasts, radio programs, videos, animation, virtual, augmented reality to give complete and unbiased information on sexual and reproductive health to young people. Much of it is actually addressing deep-rooted norms that are mired in shame and stigma. The Love Matters Hindi platforms in Hindi is still by far the largest resource available on this topic and in the language. In 2020, we set up Teen Book, which was India's first dedicated digital resource for teens, which helps adolescents build knowledge, shape their attitudes, develop their agency, make informed and responsible choices, with the aim to have them progress towards a happy and healthy adulthood. Just like Love Matters, Teen Book uses a variety of digital mediums, but both programs adopt a hybrid approach where we also reach adolescents that are still offline using our digital toolkits. And now I'm very happy to say that there are many more exciting new digital initiatives aimed at adolescents using artificial intelligence, gaming, chatbot, and other emerging technologies. For example, on the left on the screen, you see Go Nisha Go, which is a digital role play based game for girls introduced by Howard Delafield. And in the center, you see Chaja, which is by Girl Effect, a safe online space for girls to gain information. And on the right, Population Foundation Sneh AI, which is an artificial intelligence powered chatbot focused on sexual and reproductive health and digital safety. So, how do digital interventions actually help in shifting norms? Before I progress on to this section, I just wanted to say that I'll be using a lot of examples from our area of work, which is sexual and reproductive health and comprehensive sexuality education, because that's our core area. And a lot of examples will be in English, because that's the medium of conversation today. But we do a lot of this work in Hindi and would love to do it in many more South Asian languages. So how do digital interventions help? First up, digital mediums actually provide an avenue to expose adolescents to ideas, knowledge, and conversations on topics not discussed at home or school. Now, like Asama and Vandana have said, that digital mediums have both risks and opportunities. With regard to norms, we also have opportunities because, as you can see, some of these topics that we are able to talk to young people via Teen Book or Love Matters would not be possible at all in a community setting. Similarly, they also provide an opportunity to delve into topics that community gatekeepers will definitely not allow access to. Third, digital as a medium also speaks to the new generation. It is a format that adolescents and young people are naturally curious about, and it provides an opportunity to engage adolescents on topics that they might not otherwise voluntarily engage with. And a lot of norm building can also be very boring. So when we engage them via, let's say, a game like Go Nisha Go or a chatbot or via a podcast or engaging videos, we have an opportunity to be able to do some work on topics that are not generally of interest to a young person, specifically at that point in time in their lives. The personalized consumption. So the advantage of digital is that it is mass, but at the same time personal to everybody who's consuming it. So it provides an opportunity to create communication that speaks to young people directly, compared to other mediums which are more for mass consumption. So it allows for more informal, personal, and that kind of one-to-one interaction while still allowing for scale. Digital mediums also provide an avenue to have difficult conversation in what I'm calling a private space. For example, engaging boys on a topic like what you see on your screen, they would probably flatly deny this in a face-to-face setting because it's going to cause them social shame or a feeling of being publicly blamed. However, via their personalized consumption patterns, digital mediums can provide an opportunity to engage them on these kind of topics without causing the feeling of a public blame or shame. Digital is forever. Once we create digital assets, we can use them to educate and inform a generation of adolescents. So digital has both scale and shelf life. For example, we've been around for 10 years. We've been using a lot of content. We have been churning, we have been reusing it, recycling it, but it's working for a generation of adolescents and young people, as you can see on your screen. Now, for the last part of my presentation, I would like to share some of our experience and some strategies that have worked in helping us successfully reach and engage adolescents through digital solutions. First, and this is of interest to anybody who's wanting to engage young people on any kind of topics and to make sure that they remain engaged. So we create a lot of relatable content that addresses issues that they encounter on a daily basis at home or school or college or among their friends. And then we weave the challenging topics into these relatable settings such as friendships, career choices, parents or teacher troubles, even fashion choices, attractions, bullying. These kind of things help us engage with adolescents on the core topic that we are trying to address. Young people learn better when they are coming from the people who they can trust. We know this from our schools. The teachers we could trust and relate to or connect to, our learning in that subject became better. So on your screen, you see a few personas from Love Matters and Teen Book that we've created over the years, whose personas have resonated with our target audience. They fostered a connection and trust that Love Matters and Teen Book have then worked hard to cultivate. So young people would come back to our platforms for this connection, to ask a question to Auntie Ji on Love Matters, or to pour their heart out to Disha on Teen Book. Rather than dictating or preaching, using stories that adolescents can relate to, such as stories involving their friends or parents, can help it engage with the messaging. Furthermore, utilizing formats that resonate with adolescents, such as YouTube Shorts, Reels, and podcasts, is the key. I remember seeing a sketch on the creative that Osama shared, which one person had read, I want to make Reels, and it made lakhs of rupees for someone else. So Reels are aspirational for them. Whether they'll make lakhs or not, I don't know. But that is something that attracts and can be used effectively to communicate on even topics that we've not traditionally used them for. So, for example, what happens in puberty and creating Reels to stay safe online. So we've been using the power of animation and Reels to be able to communicate on some of those messaging. Incorporating references to celebrities and popular culture, figures, actors, historical characters, even famous cartoons, adds a layer of familiarity and relevance to the content specifically for adolescents and young people. Like, for example, we use Gandhi Jayanti and the use of Gandhi Ji ke Teen Bandar to fight the normalization of breakup-related revenge among young people, or the constant struggle between parents and adolescents over mobile usage. And then we add humor to it. Adding humor to anything makes it very shareable, and which is what we bank upon for adolescent to adolescent peer influence when it comes to norms. And when something is funny, they will share it. So we really try to have communication around norms or around topics that we know that adolescents will share with each other, and then we can create the scale of communicating around those topics. Finally, when we are talking to adolescents, they really appreciate authenticity, and they're more likely to engage with content or communication that feels real and honest to them. And that's where the use of language really matters. And we recommend to avoid overly scripted or a formal language, as you see on the screen. These are the kind of conversations we are having to have the most serious discussions also, because that's what they respond to. Staying current with trends and examining timely issues that matter to adolescents, such as exams, results, sports, big national days, memes, news development of broader interest. For example, if you all remember this controlled explosion of the Noida Twin Towers, our team used it to sort of talk about a very popular norm happens in urban and rural schools of India when the chapter on reproduction is skipped. So the idea that this is happening, but making it relevant, relatable, funny, and like I said, shareable. Being aware of what's trending in their real and digital worlds allows us to stay relevant and maintain their interests. So whether it's actually some of the things that actually, and the more regional and local we can get with it, the better. So what's happening for young people in Bihar or in Haryana, it's very important to capture that so it's not like the digital is separated from what's happening in their local community and setting. So it's very important to capture and engage that as well. I would like to conclude with 2 key points. Maintaining a safe and supportive environment for adolescents. Sorry, I think I've skipped a slide. I'll just go back. Yeah. I would like to conclude with 2 key points, that maintaining a safe and supportive environment for adolescents is of utmost importance when we think of any intervention impacting them. And especially, like everybody has pointed out in the panels today, there is digital invasion without the capacity building. So if we are thinking of digital interventions, there has to be very close moderation, very close monitoring to make sure that the content that we are putting out, the intervention that we are putting out, the engagement that we are having is not inappropriate, offensive, illegal, or damaging for adolescents. And especially under the age of 18, because it can also have legal implications. So if in doubt, follow the principle of do no harm. Finally, it is very important to also set up a connection between the digital and real to be able to break the deeply entrenched norms. The norm shaper, us in this context, has to generate trust, which cannot happen without a connection point. So it's important to have a touch point, even for digital interventions. We can't just, let's say, chuck the content over the fence, expect adolescents and young people to just catch it, and that's it. We need to give them a touch point, someone they can connect to, talk to, ask questions, and get help. Shaping norms cannot be a one-way street. It needs to be a facilitated conversation. And last but not the least, we need to speak to the stakeholders, which includes both parents and young people, to get their point of view, to see what will work with for them, and then create interventions that will have meaningful impact. On your screen, what you see are two videos we have compiled with our extensive conversations with parents and young people in Bihar on what the norms are for young people, why do parents enforce the norms even in today's day and age, and what can be done to actually address these norms. That's all I wanted to say. I'll be happy to take questions as we finish the three presentations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aarti. So many things to take away, but I think you also talked about how digital medium allows us to bypass some of the gatekeepers, samaj ke thekadars, and how we can use correct information, maybe entertainment, because digital works as a medium to reach young people. I think you also raised this very valid point about how digital platforms allows personalized consumption while the implementation can be at scale. Absolutely correct on the language being on trend, the importance of reels in young people's life, but at the same time keeping the connect between digital and real. And I think the other thing that I take away is your point about the sustainability and the shelf life of digital products and how it can be adapted to current ongoing issues, topics. So thank you so much. We do have many questions, but I think the organizers have told me that we have about 12 minutes to wind up. So I am going to first ask Osama. Osama, if you're still with us, there has been two or three questions about cyber security. People have asked about how do you make online access safer. Can you tell us a bit about how do we make digital platforms online access safer, and especially safer for girls? And then I'm going to come to Aarti and Vandana with some of the other questions. We will not be able to respond to every single question, so I will urge the speakers to also type in your responses. But Osama, how do we deal with cybersecurity?
Okay, so uh, what I feel from my experience and going on the ground is that
Osama, we can't hear you.
Behavior
Osama, you're
Voice
not.
breaking.
Osama, you're not audible.
digital
Osama,
all
can you?
those behavior is more a digital issue. It's a behavioral issue.
Osama, we cannot hear you.
You can't hear me?
Slightly better. You'll have to take it from the top because we didn't hear anything of what you said.
And you?
Not clear.
Am I on?
Okay, we've lost Usama. But Vandana, same question to you. Can
Yeah.
you talk a bit about how cyberbullying, cybersecurity, cyber fraud was taken care of in the particular program that you talked about?
Uh, sure, Aprajita. Speak when you're doing a digital literacy program. I mean, cybersecurity is a very intrinsic part of it. So we do talk to all our adolescents about, privacy settings on different social media platforms, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Insta, whether it is WhatsApp, and we also tell them very basic issues about how not to share your passwords, even if it's your best friend, because we also realize in places like Bihar where we work, when we talk to girls, where is your email ID, what is your password, and they tell us that the cafe, the cyber cafe that they normally frequent to use internet, he's the person who has all that information of theirs, which again we have told them is a very unsafe behavior. So we do give them all this information, take them through the processes of how to stay secure on social media and what is appropriate behavior. We talk about trolling and how not to do it and how not to bully and what could be bullying. So we do talk of all that, and we also talk to them about where can they report if there is a cyberbullying that happens. We in Bihar, we recently also took them to one of these police stations which has a cyber cell. So we are doing things like that and connecting them directly with services, with information and skills on how to stay safe online. So maybe anybody else can add, but that's what we do.
Thank you, Vandana. I'm going to come back to you about a question that I think Vikas has posted about differences between parents. Parents is thinking about mobile use by girls or boys, but hold on to that. I'm going to move to Aarti. Aarti, there is a question which says that have you observed differences when you communicate with girls and boys, and are there clear strategies to communicate with these two groups? Over to you, Aarti.
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. Yes, there is a huge difference when we're not difference in how we talk, our communication, we keep it gender neutral. We are trying to talk to everybody, but who engages with us are, of course, the boys. So the gender divide is very stark. But it has been improving. So when we started out, we had a gender divide of like 95-5 in favor of boys. It has fallen to, and now I think we are at 65-35, 60-40 on love matters. But the good news is on Teen Book, we have currently a positive ratio for the girls, but maybe because it is still very urban in nature compared to Love Matters. But yes, the biggest challenge that we've had is that we are speaking to everybody, but it is boys who are able to consume more of our content. We have turned it into an opportunity to speak to boys a lot, but that's challenge number one. Challenge number two is that when girls talk on our platforms, and given the nature of the content on Love Matters, uh, even our own moderators get flooded with friend requests and obviously harassment. So we've had to had a journey with our audience in also teaching them how to respond, behave, communicate on these platforms to be able to consume the knowledge for themselves, but allow others to do so. So this is a journey, it's a work in progress, and we continuously have to keep doing that capacity building while we communicate on the other things that we need to communicate in. So the strategy is to build capacities, use the engagement with boys to talk to boys, while a very close moderation and positive motivation, encouragement, enhancements for the girls to be able to join. But it is still an uphill struggle.
Thank you, Aarti. Vandana, I'm coming back to you before I move back to Aarti. I think we have time for responses to two more questions. You have three or two questions. Which one would you choose to respond to? Do you want to take on the question which was around gender differences between parents' perspective on use of mobiles among young boys and girls?
Yes. Hi, Vikas. I think, Vikas, one, yes, there is a big dearth of data on, uh, any of the work that we do, especially around norms and all. But yes, when we did collect data, it was not from the parents who reported that, they reported their attitude, but it was girls telling us that I don't get a mobile and it is my brother who gets a preference over me in access. So we do have, but we have not probably quantified it. It was more of a qualitative information that we got. So we do have that kind of information, which gave us an insight that, the girls are not the priority when it comes to access to mobile and accessing content online, even for education or other purposes. I hope that addresses your
And thank you,
question.
Vandana. And I would encourage other colleagues from C3 who are on the call to maybe add on to the responses in the chat box. Because I remember in one of our studies in Bihar, a father saying that giving the girl access to mobile phone is like usko chaurahe pe bithana. So there is fear, there is kind of barriers about what the cell phone and access to a digital world can do to the daughters. Whereas they will not definitely not use the sentence when you if you ask the father about giving digital access to the son. Arti, there are three kind of connected questions for you. Somebody's asked whether how do you use offline channels to onboard the audience, or do you only use online channels to get to the young people? Then also, how do you see them shift norms via digital means? I know you talked a bit about this in your presentation, but over to you to respond to these two issues.
Sure, thank you. So first, to answer the first question, we use a hybrid approach. So we are primarily a digital platform. We are out there to communicate with young people online, but we have offline activities, and we do two things. We onboard new members to come and join our platforms, but we also do capacity building in offline workshop formats, taking our digital toolkits. It plays on one mobile or one laptop or one screen for the consumption of 50 adolescents who don't have access to offline. So it's a hybrid approach because we don't think we are at a stage where digital only will reach all the adolescents in the country for sure. So yes, to answer your question, it's a hybrid approach. Second, what are we seeing? This is the hardest question that we have to answer because it is actually very hard to quantify conversations. But to be able to answer your questions, we have see. So, like we said, we're operating for the last 13 years, and there's been a huge change in the conversations we're having with young people, even in the language that they would use to communicate to us, for in terms of the words or the slang or the offensive content they would use to ask. But that's the language they knew. From there to be asking very complicated, very sort of nuanced, and also conversations too. So we know that the conversation has moved on. Secondly, one excellent proof that we love to have every now and then is that Love Matters is it's sensational, complicated, taboo page. So when new audience land on our page and they find us offensive, and then they sort of comment and like, ये संस्कार को बुरा कर रहे हैं, the way the rest of the audience comes in, moderates on our behalf, and has those conversations, we know the social norms are changing because this capacity did not exist before. So the proof for us in a lot is in all the conversations that we are having with young people, demonstrating the change in their own attitudes and behaviors, and then how they're trying to pass it on to everybody who's joining new. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I want to thank the speakers for being so good with time management. We are 1 minute away from the closing, and I will give it over to Vineha to do the closing. But just to kind of reiterate the fact that I think what we all agree today is that with rapid mobile access, with growing involvement of young people, engagement in social media, we need to really look at what opportunities can we leverage to shift social norms, increase our conversation with young people about the right content, and also, how do we deal with gatekeepers, and how do we lessen the gender divide so that girls also can benefit from this element. Thank you, speakers, and over to Vineha to do the closing. But I would like to encourage Aarti and Vandana to post some of your questions in the chat box because we did not get to all the questions. Over to you, Vineha.
Thank you so much. I think this session was amazing. Like the challenges, the opportunity that lies in the digital space, and just knowing the work that is being done has been amazing. And I'm sure I speak for the audience as well when we are inspired to, do more in this. So I think I'll quickly wrap up by saying that C3 and the Social Norms Learning Collaborative are both available on all channels almost of social media. So you can definitely get back in touch with the speakers to us. And we will be answering questions by providing knowledge products at the end of this in a few days, I guess. So please stay tuned for that. And I'll quickly launch a feedback poll. So please share your feedback, I guess, with us if possible. Yeah, thank you for joining. And great. I have launched the poll.